is proven means of creating wealth with opportunities and systems in life. Real Estate Wealth Creation Bootcamp presents you the opportunity to learn from both international and national real estate financial experts, featuring all the way from Japan, Mr. Kushibiki, a successful property investor in more than 6 countries, Mr. Tekao, a financial expert and advisor to Japanese government, Shola, a renowned property valuer and consultant, and Ori Martins, General Managing Director, Bowen Group. It is going to be a weekend of fun, mentoring, interaction, masterminding, networking with those who have achieved great success in life. Date 27th to 28th of August 2021. Venue Visa Carina Hotel, GRA, Port Harcourt. Take advantage of this rare opportunity and make your next 5 years better than the last 10 years. Log on to www.bowenestates.com/forum to register or call 0905-552-2232 to get more details. Media partner Nigeria Info. See you there.
You spend a lot of your hard-earned money to purchase the things in your house and at your business centers. And thus, you must do what you can to protect and maintain them. Accidents can and do happen, so we at 92.3 Nigeria Info would like to encourage you to take the following steps to prevent a fire outbreak. First, install a fire alarm. Ask your electrician about fire alarms, as some can be affordable. Educate children around you. Take time to explain the dangers of fire and teach them the safety protocols and numbers to call in case of emergencies. Be wary of electrical appliances. They may make our lives easier, but they can be dangerous when they become faulty. Ensure professional repairs or helps with the installation of home appliances. Do not make illegal power connections. Exercise caution when cooking. As you prepare your food, please stay close by. Resist the urge to take a nap or do other things whilst cooking. Also, ensure flammable substances are not close to your burner. Do not store fuel or diesel at home. Many fires have started because of petroleum products being stored in the homes of many Nigerians. Get a fire extinguisher. A fire extinguisher will go a long way to either reduce the spread or stop a fire if caught early. Keep fire-causing tools and items safe in storage. And finally, regular training, reminders, and updates to both family and staff members will keep individuals alert to safety protocols. Know the emergency numbers to call.
We connect you to the world. We connect you to the vicinity. We are Nigeria Info.
Listen to me. I said this is a real situation and the government has to do something about it. What are you trying to insinuate? All these people looting Nigeria's money?
This is Nigeria Info, in the heart of Nigeria. 92.3. We are Nigeria Info.
Different ideologies,
different perspectives.
Share your views on the sunny side.
92.3 Nigeria Info.
Let's talk.
Let's talk.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Architects World. We have Architects World every Tuesday at 2 p.m. And on days such as this, I'm delighted that not only would we be having our guest, architect Bozimo, via telephone, he's here in flesh and in blood. Good afternoon, architect Bozimo. Wow.
Hi. Great
it feels
to
like
see
Christmas.
It's just my pleasure to be here, and my goodness, in the time I've been away, you have blossomed and grown. Nice to see you.
Ooh, thank you. So good to see you as well. It's been quite a long time we got to sit across each other.
Right.
And I'm glad that we can do that again today.
Completely.
You're welcome once
Thank you.
again. All right, so Architects World, we get to talk, we delve into the world of design. We get to talk about design, buildings, maintenance, all there is to talk about within that industry. And today will be no different. Today we'll be talking about urban design standards and components.
Right.
I'll let architect Bozimo take it away.
Well, I think one of the things that anybody around here certainly would say is there's a lot of work going on in our environment. There's lots of construction with, of course, notably many new roads and overhead, roadways being constructed, and it's going to change the nature of moving around in the city. So that's on the positive side. One thing I did was try and just observe what's going on here and contrast it with a few places that I may have experienced recently. And it struck me that all this being invested right now is not just for now. We are the ones who are encountering the challenges now, but ultimately I perceive there's a vision for the future of this particular urban area, and this kind of vision has to be, where possible, repeated in other urban areas, because, know it or not, there is a huge rate of rural to urban migration. Some of the statistics suggest that in maybe the year 2030, 2050, up to or maybe nearly 70% of human beings will be living in and around urban areas. As technology continues to improve and maybe not so many physical people are needed to do some of the production of food in the rural areas, more people seek, their fortune and just a different life experience by migrating to the cities. So there is that very real risk that as people come, if there is not enough forward thinking, you will have that risk of those urban areas either collapsing under the pressure of new people, or the living conditions will be totally suboptimal, with the worst effects of that being slums of any sort. They have the fancy name for them in somewhere like Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, called it favelas. They are slums. You can have some other names in Dhaka in Pakistan or in India. They are slums. And we have them here in Nigeria. They are slums. There are many people who say, I live in X city. But if you try and put their address on Google Maps, nothing shows up. That is the first sign of lack of planning or lack of proper communication, because there are areas, even within the center of this city, Port Harcourt, that do not show up on the maps. And the reason for that is that the statutory authorities who should properly name those roads and communicate same to any, organization like Google or whoever have not done their job. But that's on the other part. So what are some of the things, the components that we expect to see in the urban space of today and the immediate future? And more importantly, why should they be there? Because, when a few of you are living in a rural place, sometimes things just happen very organically. People tend to settle around where there are sources of water. So you'll find that many of the remote villages tend to start somewhere where there's water, because, of course, that is one of life's fundamental requirements. And then one family starts, a couple of people move away to somewhere a bit far, but still within touching distance, and gradually communities have developed. This has been the age-old thing. But that methodology begins to break down very soon. As more people from other places come, you need to impose some form of structure within the urban space, because understand which business or individual is there and give them the appropriate taxing is to the benefit of the governing, authorities. So in order to optimize the future in our urban environments, we must from now begin to impose structure and order in our urban areas. Otherwise, the results will be too terrible to behold. In recent times, you may have seen some of the videos where flood water is breaking into underground metro rail systems and all that in the West. Yesterday or so, the United Nations released a report on global warming.
Oh yeah, I think I saw a little bit of that report.
Yes, and it is obvious that the activities of man have accelerated global warming at a rate unprecedented before now. So At the center of those human activities are the buildings and the environments that we all operate within. You can't run away from the fact that architecture, the way we make our spaces, the way we prepare those spaces for use and maintenance, has a major effect on the possibility of our generations beyond surviving properly. You're finding huge spikes in temperature across many parts of other countries, fires happening in areas that was never heard of. There are risks right now to some of the Arctic and Antarctic actually breaking, and when that happens and those ice sheets move to warmer climates and melt, our coastal areas are going to be devastated, because it takes 1 foot, 2 feet of increase of water to render huge areas inaccessible. This is why how we develop the urban space, i.e., where the majority of humanity will operate and reside, is central to how architecture works.
And I think that this is my layman thinking. I think that we're not, like you mentioned earlier, we're not a forward-thinking people. When you said, "Oh, we have to be forward-thinking," right now in Nigeria specifically, in this climate, in Africa, we're not by nature forward thinkers, and so for many people, when you hear, "Oh, there's this report," and that means we need to be more intentional with our decisions, with our structure, with our designs, and every single thing that we do, it seems kind of alien, it doesn't concern
remote. That, and I would say we haven't put ourselves to the test. And these things, though you have United Nations and somebody saying, "Which one concerns me? I don't chop." You know what? Your ability to eat may be affected by the report from the United Nations far away. And that's why we have these conversations sometimes. Not because perhaps something is happening right now, but when we highlight these things and we all start thinking as a society, it may make it easier for me tomorrow, talking to a potential client, to make certain recommendations, and the person thinks, "You know what, I get it, I understand why you may be making this." Of course, they reserve the right to interrogate every single suggestion or solution an architect presents to them. That is the client's right. But there is more of a dialogue and a conversation when you're having the conversation with the person. You're saying, "You know what, we may have to spend 15% extra on your project for such and such a reason." And the person understands that every little individual drop of intentionality in how we're developing the built environment is contributing to reducing the overall world temperature by 1 or 2 degrees, which can be very, very, significant in the long run. We can't live only for ourselves. We have to live for succeeding generations. That's really where our mindset must move to.
Okay. Of course, you can be a part of the conversation. The phone lines will be open shortly. The numbers to call, in case you don't have them, are 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003. You can also call 0817-923-0007 or 0817-923-0009. The WhatsApp number as well is 0809-030-6416. We'll put the phone line shortly, but let me come back to you. How then can we be intentional with our design components?
Okay.
And how can we uphold the standard to which we should?
Precisely. Now, what are some of these components and what are we attempting to achieve? The city is an amazing organism. It's a place where dreams are made and some are shattered. It's a place where a lot of individuals do interact on a daily basis, and still you can be completely lonely in the city if you're not creating community intentionally. So one of the goals and purposes of those design decisions we make must be to enhance the possibilities of people living, working, and recreating very properly within the city. It means they should be able to get to and from their chosen spots with relative ease, relative comfort, and not too expensively. It means that People should be safe if they are taking a stroll or a jog. It means that you have a road. I mean, we have many roads in Nigeria right now, but unfortunately, a road is much more than that black tarmac surface. A road should have sidewalks, of course, depending on where it is, depending on the width of the road and all that. And it should have some drainage, or provision should be made for drainage. So when you have a situation where anytime it rains, a certain place gets flooded, there is something missing. That is the hallmark and the trademark of engineering. Engineers will handle that once given the brief. This is something else that our leaders must understand. The potential for every solution that Nigeria needs is right here with us. You don't have to look far, but you must give these people the responsibility and expect them to respond. Once the expectation is there, I have no doubt that the professionals can do all the work. So you need roads, you need sidewalks, you need drainage. Those roads should not also become a death trap. At night, there should be lighting, street lights. When you're going from point A to B, maybe it's a city you're familiar with, but if you want to enhance the tourism potential of your city, make it easy to navigate. Provide signage as well. It's very easy for me, you, to be in an office or to be in a studio like this and have our work and work hard all day. At the end of the day, I should not necessarily be forced to go straight to my house. There should be an opportunity for some outdoor activity. There should be public spaces like parks, intentionally provided, provision, designed, so that people have that opportunity to either go and sit out in the park, read a book, browse their phones, interact with others in a sense of extreme safety and security. You see, those are the things, some of the things that make up the urban space, that make it desirable. When you see the pictures of maybe the UAE, someplace in the UAE or the US or China or whatever, I'm struck by the fact that when it comes to individual houses, arguably some of our Nigerian houses look more spectacular. Many of the landscapes in the UK and all that, they have, no offense, fairly boring terrace buildings. Just simple and very boring. They are actually, yes, they're actually quite boring. But the context in which they are set, the driveway to the front door, the street outside that place, all the street lights along that street, the little green areas at the end of the road, the signage that tells you where to go, that is what makes those towns and those cities so much more attractive and desirable. Because of our situation here with security, you hardly even see our buildings. Most of them are surrounded by high fences. Do you know how much money we have invested in fences in Nigeria? Do you know we could build another Nigeria with the amount of block work we have in our walls? But we know it didn't just start like that. People felt challenged, and so they did it. So when we're talking about improving this urban scape, yes, I am focusing on the built environment, but it is a multidisciplinary activity where you have sociologists, you have crime detection, you have all the different people who have to work together to ensure that people come to the city, feel safe, can come in at their level, start in a studio apartment, later 2-3 years you can go into one bedroom, and all of these things should not be such a challenge. So the components, as I said, you need that open space, and not just an open, green, grassy area that has grass that is so high that snakes are running out of it in fear. We're talking about spaces that have seating, have lighting, have 1 or 2 sockets where somebody can sit down on a park bench and charge their phone. What says that's impossible? It is not at all. I paint these pictures to say we are where we are right now, but nothing means that we have to stay like this right now. And as long as we're, use the best word, intentional about it, it doesn't have to happen in 1 month or 1 year or even the term of one governor. But if this picture is depicted and each successive leadership picks it up at their level, and it's not about governors alone. Remember right now, I've mentioned this before, right now in Rivers State, the governor has chosen freeways and flyovers on the main streets. That is his project of choice. Saying, among other things, we're talking about, the one that we are seeing everywhere. That means that in order to construct those, many of the former accesses to those roads are blocked. Fair, fine enough, we know it's a temporary process. Now, people have had no choice but to start using the other inner connecting roads. I believe it is firmly the responsibility of the local government heads of these various communities to make those roads decent and accessible. I don't expect the governor to come to my little street and start figuring out what's wrong when I have a local government chairman. So it's up to me to contact them, and it's up to them to also be very, very intentional. The urban space can generate so much wealth, so much activity, so much productivity, if we think carefully about how the people are using it and where they'll go. We make many roads today in urban spaces, and there is nowhere, I listened to Jude this morning, there is nowhere to actually park a car. Why is that? It means we have not thought through every single person and how they will actively engage with that space. So if we are not doing that, then let's take stock and make sure we add those components. It doesn't mean that there must be a parking space at every meter, but if we say, okay, within this particular area, we are going to do multi-level parking, it becomes a money spinner forever, because once you put that kind of infrastructure there, first of all, you can now enhance the rule that nobody can park on the street. Once you go into the place, it's revenue.
You have to pay.
Somebody made a comment today when the conversation was going on in the morning. I was very intrigued. He said, why do we make sidewalks so low that cars can actually put one tire on them and disturb passers-by? Standards. The proper standard for a sidewalk should not exceed 150 millimeters or 6 inches from the surface of the road. So if you have a situation where it exceeds that, then you are doing it wrong. But sometimes I see sidewalks that are 1 foot or 1.5 feet high. That is dangerous, one, because anybody who falls from that is at a greater risk.
Yeah.
And what happens when people, and you also have to consider, it's not just young, sprightly people who can leap up onto it. Sometimes it's people who are relatively older, and they too need access. So you want to maintain the proper standards that are universal across the world. We cannot, if human behavior is doing something wrong, somebody's putting a tire on the side, ask yourself the question, why would anybody do that if they had where to park properly? If you're provided a place to park properly and the person doesn't do it, deflate all 4 tires, not just the 2 on the side, in my view. Tow the car to a place where it can be crushed. One car, nobody else will do it. Of course, I'm being extreme here and a facetious, but the thing is that you have to provide the solution, then people will be forced, if you will, to comply. But if you just have roaming gangs of people looking for who to descend on as victims, then that is not really a sustainable solution. The built environment can take care of over 70% of the challenges we have in an urban space, if well considered. You provide signage, provide parking, provide where people can, pull over. You provide where they can park. When you're even designing a space, unless you widen the road afterward, it should be part of the urban design requirement that you provide at least a few parking spaces for your own business premises. I know there's some areas where roads that used to be single or dual lane were now made into double lanes. In considering that, there should be some properties reserved for multi-level parking. You can't just leave people to their own devices or to become victims of predatory authorities. And the bottom line is that public spaces, parking, streetlights, sidewalks, roads that actually work and get somewhere, signage, these are all of the components we expect to see in our urban spaces. And when they are lacking, we're not optimizing all we can yield. Because some of the cities in some of these other countries, they make money from every time you park. If you're going to provide it at the side of the road, They have a parking meter. You have 25 minutes to park. If you don't, you get a ticket. If you get a ticket, it might be much more expensive. So you put money into the meter, and it's, it is retrieved each day. And it may look like a small amount, but the consistency means it is one of many forms of revenue.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break now, and when we return, we'll open the phone line so that you can also be a part of the conversation. Don't go away.
Connect with your customers. Advertise on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Visit our downtown office at Shop 9, Mediatrix of All Gracies Plaza, opposite FIRS, Stadium Road, Port Harcourt, and book your commercials. Call 0817 001 8162. That is 0817 001 8162. And let us connect you to your customers. Connect with your customers. Advertise on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Visit our downtown office at Shop 9, Mediatrix of All Gracies Plaza, opposite FIRS, Stadium Road, Port Harcourt, and book your commercials. Call 0817 001 8162. That is 0.
Sports radio station 92.3 Nigeria Info. I am listening.
Different ideologies,
Different perspectives.
share your views on the sunny side.
92.3 Nigeria Info.
Let's talk.
Let's talk.
Welcome back to Architects World at 92.3 Nigeria Info, your number one talk news and sports radio station here in Port Harcourt. We've got about 20 minutes left for this conversation. Now you can join in. Whatever questions or thoughts you might have, you can obviously share. The numbers to call are 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003. You can also call 0817-923-0007 or 0817-923-0009. The WhatsApp number is 0809-030-6416. We're also streaming live on Facebook, so you can watch us on Facebook as you drop your comments at Nigeria Info 92.3 PH. So let me come back to you, Architect Bozimo.
Yes.
Now, with all the things you explained, which is obviously how it should be, how, it should be here in any climate, as a matter of fact, but we know that that is not our reality yet. So what would you say pose our major challenges in achieving this?
Sometimes the short-sighted look is it costs too much or it costs more. The ultimate thing anybody should be thinking of, especially when legacy is being discussed, is it's always cheaper to do something now than to try and do it later, for the simple reason that when you're in the process of construction is inherently a disruptive process, relatively messy and all that. So you might as well put in the necessary extra money and effort to do it right the first time than say, oh, we're going to save 15-30% and not do it. And ultimately, you have created something that is substandard, and in order to do it at a future time, it'll cost that much more. So I think money is one of the first things. I know it's not lack of knowledge or design, because these design standards, we study them in school. We have every access to both standards that work in Nigeria, and we could adopt standards that exist elsewhere. There's nothing about the standards that's alien. What is not yet enforced or in place is the will to actually convert those standards from the book into the actual physical environment.
All right, 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003. You can also call 0817-923-0007 or 0817-923-0009. Do you think we lack the willingness to actually achieve this level of excellence with our designs? Do you think we actually Because I would not say we lack the skill,
No.
nor the knowledge. Do you
No.
think we lack the willpower?
The willpower could be strengthened. I think one of the key things is for the process of project greenlighting to be much more inclusive. I think right now, unfortunately, we just hear announcements. This is going to be the project. The process by which projects should be greenlighted should be much wider. There should be more consultation with the communities involved, with the city inhabitants and all that, so that it's not just the vision of one individual. It's great when one individual says, I want to enhance the environment. That's fantastic. But that person should understand that even their vision would be enhanced if they had public or town hall meetings about potential projects. I haven't experienced any town hall meeting about any of the projects that we were doing around here. It doesn't mean that they're not nice, but what may have happened if there had been consultation? A question was asked this morning where somebody said, for instance, in Lagos, and made a fantastic point, that underneath many flyover bridges, they use those spaces as parking. But here, underneath many of the new bridges, you just see a huge opacity. There are concrete walls and barriers. And I think in an ideal urban design situation, you should have more transparency and connectivity. Remember, a city is a place where lots of people, lots of vehicles, everybody comes. I think it would enhance safety if I can see the other lane where a car is about to do a U-turn, so that I take proper consideration. But if I'm always surprised by a car coming from my left, it's not the ideal. We're driving, we're doing it right now, but I'm saying we could have enhanced the effectiveness. And don't forget that revenue stream. Once you put revenue, you put maybe electronic meter so that people can get into those spaces and come out. That means that whatever it takes to clean those spaces is constantly paid for. Personally, if I go to Garrison, I would really love to be able to park in an officially designated space, knowing that no thug can come and question or quarrel with me, because this is the official space. I'll pay the money. Whether I want to be there for 10 minutes or they can do it on a time basis, whatever the case, it could be a token, but that token will always take care of cleaning dust and all that, because you can pay the person. So you don't overlook the pennies, because that's from where the bigger naira comes.
So how then can let me bring it back home to River State, using us here as a point of contact,
as we say.
That's the other part of the country, especially because in River State we do have a current government that is so particular about structure.
Very determined, exactly.
Very determined about structure. So with the peculiarities of River State and the present government and its desire, priority as it were, what would you like to see in the design of the city of Port
Well, what would be really great? It would be nice to see some theming where certain areas of the city are themed in a certain way, so that it's not just more of the same in every single instance. Once you begin to involve people and ask them to imagine with you, you'll be surprised at the results you'd get. I mean, the computer area where we have currently Ogunabali and all that.
Yeah.
If you had a theme that was built on IT and all that, it would be interesting. You could have little competitions where from primary school to higher level students are asked to come up with a theme. And you now carry that theme through. It doesn't reduce the quality of the work, it doesn't reduce the concrete quality, but it gives that area a theme. You go to another area, it's a market area, you're enhancing it based on that. That adds variety, it adds interest, it adds a reason to go from one point to another point. Those are what give a city its character and characteristics. You might see pictures of Singapore where they have those awesome landscape, they have this flower, and look, those things give a city some character. They could have planted flowers on the ground, but they chose instead to do it in a certain way, and that is part of what gives those cities their character. I just feel we could consult wider. That's what I'm thinking. And, it's always the prerogative of the person in office to do so, but they could do it better and get more people involved, so that what you have is stakeholders, Once people have a personal stake in your project, you can go to sleep. They will take care of it without even you being involved. That's one beautiful thing about, getting people to feel like they have a sense of ownership.
Taking a cue from that, I was going to ask this as my final question because we're out of time. How can we get people from an individual perspective to feel like they also have a stake in the design of a city?
I think, most people have control over, at most, maybe the very site that they live in, maybe their house where they own or rent. And sometimes inside an estate, there are estate meetings where they decide what's going on in that particular community. We have to enhance our sense of community. That's number one. Because when you feel you belong, then everything begins to matter to you. But if you feel a sense of disconnectedness from it, then you toss a bottle. That, to me, is the singular most disgusting activity anybody can do. We should all have polythene bags in our cars. When you finish eating, put it inside there and trash it at your house or at a proper place. But you just see them tossing things out because they don't care. So, first of all, it's part of our background. We should have a sense of responsibility for the environment in which we live. We are dealing with terrible floods. I'm seeing on TV screens here about floods coming in Lagos, Ogun State. Rivers is part of it. Delta is part of it. Even in the north, Niger State, they're having floods that are killing people. These are avoidable circumstances, but we make them worse if we don't tend to our environment better. So the kind of buildings that we build have to be very sustainable. We cannot make buildings that are consuming all the energy and putting out greenhouse gases into the ozone layer, because we're going to change the climate of the world. On an individual basis, when you're talking to an architect and he's telling you about certain things you may have to pay for, don't be alarmed. Listen, educate yourself. The best person for an architect is an educated client, a client who has good questions to ask and challenges you, because it's like lifting weights in a gym. If you're lifting a can of pig milk, you will not get a muscle as much as when you're lifting a proper weight. So when an architect is speaking to a person who is asking them deep questions, it enhances the quality of the design at the end of the day.
Amazing. Let's have your final thoughts as we wrap the conversation up. By the way, we have a comment on Facebook. Let's quickly take that and then we'll wrap it up. Ubana Eze says, please, is there any school that is strictly based on architecture other than universities and polytechnics where one can do part-time?
Here in Nigeria, I'm not sure that we have anything apart from the universities and the polytechnics. That's where we get education here. I don't have all the answers. We might have to look into it, but to the best of my knowledge, thus far, nowhere.
Someone on WhatsApp sends a couple of pictures and says this is summer in Egypt. I don't know if you can see it from where you're seated.
I'm looking.
It sends a bunch of pretty looking pictures.
Wow, those are beautiful urban environments, indoors and outdoors. And they're the kind of things that make you want to get up and go.
Yes.
Because,
this, for instance,
these are just
the underground
parking.
Overhead bridge parking
yes.
arrangement you talked about.
And it's very commonplace in many places. You are maximizing the use of the space that you have chosen to live in, individually or among others in a city. The city is a hub for so much innovation and creativity. I'm just saying, let's not mismanage that development and growth. This is our chance to make sure that our cities develop in such a way. And because we're all going to the future right now, there is no reason that Nigeria cannot be a leader in what happens next. We don't always have to follow others. We can define things that are climate appropriate and context appropriate and ensure that generations of Nigerians to come are not suffering from the floods that we have already been warned about by areas in the West. This is the time to get all the consultants involved, our water level, get our land surveyors, the kind of designs we're doing, get our architects, the kind of roads and drains, get the engineers, the street lights, get the electrical engineers, all sorts of water pumping, mechanical engineers, and who will put the cost in it? The quantity surveyor. It's teamwork that makes the dream work.
Fantastic. All right, let's have your social handles as well.
My social handles, I am at AB Bozimo on all the normal platforms, at AB Bozimo.
Thank you so much, as always, for your time. and for your resources. It's always a pleasure having you on the show.
The pleasure and privilege are both mine. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you so much for coming. On that note, to get to wrap the conversation up on Architects World, as well as draw the curtains on the sunny side for today. But the conversation continues with Hard Facts with Dayo. That will be right after River City at 3 o'clock. That will take you all the way to 7. And I believe the sports crew would come in right after that. And Sam Oracle Chinedu with Let's Talk from 9 p.m. I'm Gabriella. Do follow us on all our social platforms. On Facebook at Nigeria Info 92.3 PH. On Instagram at Nigeria Info PH. We're also on YouTube. You can catch up with all our conversations if you missed them at any point at Nigeria Info PH. I am Gabriella. Once again, have a great afternoon. Talk to you again tomorrow.